Filmmaking covers a variety of genres, and during the 1990s, one in particular saw a resurgence, the big-budget disaster flick.
It's coming! It's headed right for us! It's already here.
For two science-obsessed kids growing up on opposite sides of Pennsylvania, nothing left a bigger impression than Twister.
The suck zone.
I think we're going in!
Join Kelly and Joe as they dissect the second highest grossing film of 1996,
Debris! Dusty, we have debris!
minute by minute,
Another cow.
Actually, I think that was the same one.
and relive one of their favorite movies of all time.
No, that was a good-sized twister. What was that, an F3?
Solid F2. Tornado warning continues now.
Welcome back to Solid F2 Podcast, a minute-by-minute breakdown of the movie Twister. And we are back here for episode 3. We're going to be talking about the third minute of the movie. But before we do that, I think Kelly has a few things to clarify from the first minute or two that we discussed the last few times.
So I wanted to just point out that in minute 2, we see a weather man on the television, a meteorologist, showing a radar image to the viewers and talking about that there was a tornado and which counties were affected and, to seek shelter. And I just want to point out that while we were correct that was Gary England, the Oklahoma meteorologist, which I believe you brought up in the last episode, it was factually incorrect in that, as you know, this scene in the movie takes place in June 1969, and radar was not used as part of tornado warnings on television until 1973. And, of course, the man that did that for the first time was, in fact, Gary England.
So, it's a little bit of a coincidence. It's funny to point out that, historically the timeline or chronology doesn't work out, but the man responsible for the first broadcasts was the man that they had used. And we mentioned that he's kind of a big deal. Up until just a few years ago, he was active forecasting in the Oklahoma area. So yeah, Robert England, big deal in the meteorology community, and has a lot of interesting connections, and that certainly was one of them. As we were doing our research and getting ready for another episode of Solid F2, Kelly found that interesting
little
nugget of information.
Little nugget.
And it's not the only thing that pops up with, while people like, people in the meteorology community were consulted for the film, obviously, to make it as accurate as you can with keeping it entertaining. You're going to talk to people that know it best, and the meteorologists seen in the film were consultants as well. Robert was a consultant on the film. But, sometimes you have to stretch the truth or tweak things a bit to make it interesting or relevant. And this is the first case showing tornadoes on television, June 1969. Not exactly accurate. And one that we're going to discuss later is the Fujita scale, enhanced Fujita scale, talking about F2, F3. We hear him talk about actually all of them. And I realized as I was doing my research today that each of the tornadoes that they chase or see in the film rapidly gets worse, which I didn't realize that the first one is. I did not notice that. No, it didn't ever occur to me because I guess I didn't realize, or if they mention it, it just goes over my head every time I watch it. Obviously I know the last one was an F5. I don't remember them saying the cinema, the drive-in was an F4. I didn't know that the one on the hill was an F3.
Well, to be fair, they wouldn't know that.
Right, yeah, because you get that.
You get that after
the fact.
The
Fujita scale is
rate them based on damage.
Right.
So you can't look at a tornado and say, well, that's an F3.
Right. So, I mean, that's one of those things in the film that I guess you could try to make estimates based on I mean, I guess they would be using radar size. Like, I don't know what else they would be using from that.
Well, you
the
can tell
real-time
velocity
data.
from a radar.
Okay. It's just, something that most people are familiar with the Fujita scale, F1 through F5, despite its changes over the years, that you have to incorporate into the movie. People are kind of going to expect it, and it gives them something to grab onto. And I just didn't realize that they see 5 twisters, essentially, and they go 1 to 5. It just didn't dawn on me that... Because what did it matter? Eventually, the last one was, of course, going to be the biggest and baddest. I didn't realize the first one was a 1 that destroys Joe's truck and whatnot. But the other thing I wanted to mention and correct myself, because I made a mistake of referring to Helen Hunt's character as Joe Harding, which is technically true. That's her married name, though. When she's a little kid, that is, I believe it's Thornton family.
Right.
So she's Jo Thornton. And the mom and dad that we're going to see here and talk about, they're the Thornton family. It's Bill Harding. Joe becomes Joe Harding once they get married and whatnot. I didn't realize that I was mixing up the two until...
Maybe Bill should have changed his name to Thornton.
Bill Thornton? Nah, I don't think that was going to happen.
Just saying. Be progressive of him.
In 1996, it definitely was at the forefront of everyone's thoughts. So...
I'm just saying.
Yeah, continue to say. Is
You
there
know what?
anything else?
I think I'm going to change my name back to Ross, and you should be Joey
I mean, you
Ross.
still get package sent to you as Ross, so...
That's fair.
How much has changed, really?
I changed my name before I got my master's degree so that my master's degree would say Kelly Mays.
Respect. Was there anything else that you wanted to point out from the first 2 episodes that we might have glossed over or missed or got wrong?
I don't think so, no.
So we're all good there in that regard then, and we can move on to watching minute 3 before we talk about the 3rd minute and discuss the happenings from Twister. We're going to start to pick up a little bit here as we have the initial tornado, which is the F5 that's going to destroy the Thornton farm, and we're going to see a race towards the cellar. There's going to be some dialogue, and we're going to get to meet young Jo and her mother. And, let's take a look and a listen to what the 3rd minute of Twister is like.
Joe, come on.
What is it, Mommy?
Come on, sweetie, let's get up. Come on. It's okay.
We need to get down to the storm cellar right now.
Okay.
Come on. Hey, Joe, let's go. Let's go.
Come on, sweetie.
Come on, honey,
Don't be
hurry.
scared, Joe. Mama's got you. Mama's got you.
TV says it's big. Might be an
We're
F5.
going to the storm cellar.
Hands her to me. Come on, let's move.
The center part of your house.
How long is this minute going to go?
Another 10 seconds.
All right, just checking. You seem like you were paying attention.
I'm a multitasker.
Yeah.
I can do multiple things at once. Thank you very
Can you?
much. So that was the 3rd minute of Twister. We're going to jump back here to the 2-minute mark and discuss it as it goes on. I'll turn it down a little so we can talk while it plays. And, we start with where we left off the last episode with a look at Toby the dog and Jo in her bed being
Their
woken up.
creepy clown.
It is a creepy
thing.
clown, right?
Is-
Have you ever watched the movie The
Night of the Twisters?
No.
Yes.
Devon Sawa,
Yeah.
of course. No, The Christmas Toy. Did you ever watch that with me at the holidays?
No, you know I don't like those kind of movies.
No, I know, but the clown that gets frozen and dies, and it looks kind of like that. That's when I see it, I always think about that. So
I don't like, first of all, if we back up to when she's in her room there.
sure.
First of all, the dubbing of the dad's voice is awful.
Yeah, you pointed that out when we were looking at it yesterday.
Clearly, he's speaking, and it doesn't line up with the words that you're hearing.
They changed the dialogue, or
Yeah,
they didn't like the way
they
he
didn't
said
like
it or something.
something like that. They dubbed over it in the background. I just want you to watch the dad talking here.
We need to get down to the storm cellar right now.
Oh yeah, oh my god.
Like,
his
his-
lips continue to move and nothing's coming out of
right.
it.
It's pretty bad. And now she's like, "Come on, we gotta hurry, we gotta hurry." And then she casually walks out of the room holding her child. There's no urgency whatsoever as they leave her bedroom.
Did you ever think there was a chance that Toby wasn't going to make it?
I think he's not going to make it every time.
Every
I
time.
also think the dog in Independence Day is
Boomer!
not going to make it every time.
Boomer! Yeah, no, Toby, he makes it out there eventually, and we get a nice up-close shot of the tornado warning meteorologist talking about it.
I do feel like the dad should lose his hat here. I mean, if it's windy enough to blow,
Right.
branches down and her nightgown's flying all over the place, but his hat doesn't.
His hat
budge.
stays on. It's a miracle.
Hat doesn't. And they used, I don't know if they used it in this scene, but they used jet engines to create some of the wind for the scenes in this movie. So I feel like if you have a jet engine blowing
Right.
in your face, your hat's going to come off.
That's an odd choice of art for a child's room. It's like-
Oh, I think it's in the hallway, technically.
Oh, it's in the hallway?
But
Okay.
still, yeah, it's creepy AF.
yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. Like an old oil painting.
I mean,
It's like
also,
a child maybe in a bassinet or a tub.
wallpaper is hideous.
Well, the wallpaper's awful. We touched on that last time, but it's the 60s. What do you expect?
Joe,
You're right. It is out in the hallway.
let's get up. Come on.
There's a lot of interesting artwork choices around the room.
Yeah, yeah.
Trying to see. She has a poster on the wall. I'm trying to see what it is. Was it an angel?
Yeah, looks
Okay,
like
it's an angel. I thought it was maybe for a movie or something.
Nope,
Like,
creepier than that.
Thought it could possibly be.
Oh, it's clearly Fast and the Furious 3.
Oh, is that what it is? That did come out in June 1969. So
Right, right.
yeah.
Don't be scared, Joe. Mama's got you. Mama's got you.
Now we're introduced for the first time to the mother and young Joe. Obviously, older Joe is played by Helen Hunt, but younger Joe, I found out, and you knew who it was right away when I said it, is played by Alexa Panavega, who you know from, what was it that she was in some of the Disney
She
shows?
was in Spy Kids. Now,
Okay.
I've never seen Spy Kids, but I that's what I know she became famous for. She was much younger. She was a child actor at the time. I imagine it was just, a few years after this movie was made. She was probably an early teen when she did that, and now she's grown and has a child of her own. But yes, she.
Yeah, and I realized when I saw the name that I knew her from the holiday movies that we've been watching over the years on Hallmark Channel. She's started to become a regular on those. She's been on a few of them at least. I think she's been on the non-holiday ones, which we don't tend to watch that much of. But yeah, so very young Alex Panavega
She's a cute kid.
is playing
Young
Jo Thornton. So, I think she's probably about, what do you think she is, like 7, 8 here?
Yeah,
Something
I would
like
say
that?
that.
Yeah, like early elementary school age. And then we also saw Mrs. Thornton here. As
Right.
Kelly mentioned, she's got her hair flying in the wind and whatnot. But
I believe the actress that plays Mrs. Thornton guest starred or did a spot on Supernatural.
oh, really? Okay.
one point,
Now
yeah.
it's played. Mrs. Thornton is played by Rusty Schwimmer.
Can you see her?
Let me see if I can pull up. The only other thing that I took notice of on her filmography right away was she was in The Perfect Storm, which I've seen. It's been a long time since I've seen the movie. But she doesn't ever seem to be the main person, but she has a lot of side roles. She's been in Lucifer, which I know you watched. Grey's Anatomy.
She was in Lucifer?
Yeah, Roberta Belliard.
Oh, yeah.
You realize now you have that glass breaking
Yeah,
moment,
she was
huh?
a bad guy. And now I'm wondering.
bad guy.
And now I'm wondering if I'm
Interesting.
thinking of her and of that show and not Supernatural.
Possibly. I mean, but Supernatural's been on for a long time.
Right.
So Twister came out in 1996. She's been in a lot of stuff since then. She was also on Chicago Hope. leading up to her performance in Twister. Ally McBeal, Amistad, Almost Heroes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was thinking of
You were thinking of Lucifer?
and not
I mentioned The Perfect Storm. That's probably the only other thing that I saw her in. She was also on the TV series 6 Feet Under and Arliss, which are pretty big. But she's also had a few appearances on Gilmore Girls, which if I've seen her in the background, Corinne watches that show all the time. But nothing too significant that really jumps out at me. But
we're going to see her on a Criminal Minds there. You see that?
Yes, you're right. In 2007, so probably around season 4, she's going to make an appearance. I wonder if we'll be able to pick her out or not. But it's interesting to me that she was someone evil on Lucifer, because she's very, very motherly in the very limited amount that we get to see her in Twister. But although I think you're going to have something to say about her in the next minute that we get to during the shelter part where.
Oh yeah, I've got thoughts about that entire scene.
Of course, this is obviously not negative against the actress. It's
no, but the character.
The way the character is portrayed, or the way they wrote her part, maybe leaves a little to be desired. But how about the effects going on? The way the storm is portrayed. There's
super
some
strobe.
Crazy amount of lightning going on. Here, I believe they're going to have a lightning strike the silo, or is it a barn, over the characters' left shoulders as they're running away and out of the house. It's quite bright, quite intimidating. Is it maybe it hits a tree?
It hits a tree and the tree falls.
The tree sparks. Then they show sparks coming off the silo. So in that general area that we talked about on the minute 2 episode last time, and that's it. So most of it is just them running down the stairs, leaving Joe's bedroom.
Yeah, she took that clown doll with her, but she didn't
did.
call the dog until they were halfway out the door.
It wasn't really. I mean, she seemed pretty concerned about Toby for most of the time. I don't know that we can hold it against her all that much.
I can. No child would sleep through that storm with their windows open, and her windows are open.
They are very much open, yes.
Curtains are blowing.
Joe, come on. Come on, sweetie, let's get up.
Don't think the house has central air, so.
We need to get down to the storm cellar right now. Come on. Hey, Joe, let's go. Let's go.
Come on, sweetie.
Come on, honey.
You don't need to yell, "Take Joe." She's already holding her. Such a mansplainer. Let me tell you how to save our Joe. Take her, take her. I'm already holding her.
She was not halfway down the stairs. They were fully down the stairs.
Just saying. I think I said halfway out the door, but still.
Oh, I think it's the stairs.
At any rate, she didn't seem concerned soon enough. Nobody did. No one cares about the chickens.
No, they don't care at all. They're like, get out of the way.
I wonder if one of the things they're showing is there's a oil tank there that's probably combustible.
I did read today, we talked about Jan de Bont a little bit on the last episode, and you mentioning that he got into some disagreements on the movie he was working on, which was Godzilla, to leave and come and work on Twister. It was actually Jan who insisted that the production be actually filmed in Oklahoma. They were going to film it in California.
Oh, because it's a known hotspot for...
Right, for tornadoes.
They don't even have the right terrain for filming
when you get into production companies and stuff like that, everyone's thinking about saving money. So they wanted to find, I guess, fields in California to film in, but Jan de Bont said, no, we're going to Oklahoma.
You would have never gotten those panoramic sweeping shots that were taken from an aerial view of the fields.
The cinematography would have not been what we got. And what we got was exactly what you'd expect.
What you want is a sweeping view of a small farm in California with the Sierra Nevadas in the background.
Yeah. Right. But you really can't ever question what the executives are thinking when it comes to money. They're always going to think bottom dollar. Of course, it proved to be a raging success for him to do what he did, because the movie, while it was critically 50-50. I think it holds like a 58 or something like that on Rotten Tomatoes. It was a commercial success. Twister made nearly, I think it was $500 million, and the budget wasn't even $100 million. So for everything that Warner Brothers, Amblin, or whoever was footing a lot of the bills, they made their money. They got it all back and then some. So it was
Just goes to show it's not always what Roger Ebert thinks is good.
right. Yeah, and I don't know if Ebert was one that was a detractor or not, but
I feel like he generally bans all the movies I like, so
right.
I feel like it's pretty safe to say he didn't love this movie.
Yeah, but a lot of good stuff in the the third minute here. Again, not an overwhelming amount of stuff, but we finally got to meet the whole family, and we get that set up for Joe's character arc throughout the film, or the lead up to the big moment that's going to drive that, which may come to a head on the next episode. If not episode 4, it'll definitely be in episode 5. So
I don't think he even got to drink his coffee.
no, his 9:30 at night cup of coffee, huh? He just had to have that cup of Joe. One last cup of Joe, and he was denied.
A cuppa.
Cuppa. So we do hear him say, them talking about it's a big one, maybe an F5. Again, I don't know how often they would be saying that.
Well, they wouldn't be saying it all in 1969.
Right. That's true,
The
right?
Fujita scale came about in 1971. Ted
Yeah.
Fujita and Alan Pearson created that, so this is 2 years too early to even consider
And it was
the
about
size of a tornado.
30 years after that I believe it changed. About 30, 35 years?
Yeah,
Was it
something around there.
Early
It
mid-2000s?
became the enhanced Fujita scale.
Because it was either like right before we got to Penn State or even maybe while we were there. Because I remember the change happening around that time.
It was relatively new.
Yeah, it was relatively new
we were
when,
there,
when
but-
we were getting our meteorology degrees.
Yeah,
so.
they didn't fact check that one too
Yeah,
hard
it's
when
one of
they
those
wrote
things.
the script.
But I
because
think it's
I'll forgive it because it's Michael Crichton and he can do no wrong.
Michael Crichton and his wife at the time were paid $2.5 million to write the movie, and
He'd have done it for free.
Yeah,
What a
yeah.
guy.
totally. But I know we mentioned Michael Crichton and his wife had written it. Did we mention that Spielberg was a producer? That this was
I don't
Steven
believe we've
Spielberg.
mentioned it now.
Steven Spielberg was a part of the production crew. He was an executive producer, which I think in filmmaking terms means less hands-on and more here's some money type of thing. But the hands-on producers were Michael Crichton, who wrote it, but also Kathleen Kennedy, who is involved in a lot of Spielberg products and now is president of Lucasfilm. And she's done a lot of things, including the Indiana Jones franchise, which is one of our favorites as well. So, do you have anything else to say about this third minute of action here?
Well, at the very end of this minute, you see them approaching their storm cellar. I never liked how their doors looked.
The storm cellar
The
door?
storm cellar doors. They look so slim. It looks like someone took old refrigerator doors with like a window in it.
It looks as though a tornado could rip it off. It's off its hinges.
Well, yes, and I'm sure we'll address this in the next minute, that they have one little latch that keeps the door shut. If you just back away from the door, just back away, man.
Back away.
But yeah, I just don't like the look of their doors. That's all.
All right.
Rest in peace, chickens.
They're gone. R.I.P. Off to the big field in the sky.
Big KFC bucket in the sky.
If the breading fits. All right.
On that note,
On that note, we're going to end episode 3. And we'll be back for minute 4 on the 4th episode as we plug along and slowly make our way through this like prelude to the main story. But
how
it's
long
coming
is
quickly.
this movie?
Yeah, this is going to take a while.
Yeah.
This is going to take a while. It's,
How long have we been in quarantine?
It's essentially, well, we've been in quarantine for 5 weeks.
We started this too late.
Quarantine. Well, it takes time to develop and move along. I mean, we weren't going to get the entire movie done in a few weeks or a few months. Like, this is going to take a while.
Not with that attitude, we won't.
Honestly, what I would hope to do is get the majority of it. I don't think all of it, especially because things get busier as the year progresses. But I would like to be through a good chunk of it by the time next May rolls around, because that is the 25th anniversary of the film.
Okay.
That's my plan. I don't know what your plans are.
I don't make plans for
I'm
podcasts.
aware. There's no plans. Nothing's thought up. All right. You done?
Yeah.
You're done. Okay. All right. That's it for minute 3. We'll be back for minute 4 next time. Thanks for listening to the Solid F2 podcast, a minute-by-minute breakdown of the movie Twister. That's all for this week. Please follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Solid F2 Pod. Solid F2 Podcast is part of the JMNJR Radio Network. Visit jmnjrradio.com for more.